ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. In our major story, police confirm 35 deaths as bombers hit Kano Central Mosque behind Emir's Palace. Also in this program, the All Progressives Congress wants aspirants seeking the party's presidential ticket to sign undertaking during the screening exercise. Lagos Governor Babatunde Fashola expresses disappointment at INEC over renewed distribution of permanent voter cards in the state. Outside Nigeria, British Prime Minister David Cameron seeks support of European Union leaders for migrants' welfare benefits. We'll begin tonight in Kano, where scores of people are feared dead in an explosion at the Central Mosque on Friday. The bomb blast, which occurred around 2 p.m. while the Jumat service was going on, was heard in most parts of the city. CoreTV News gathered that the prayer session was brought to a halt as thousands of worshippers scampered for safety, and security men were seen trying to control the situation with little success. The Central Mosque is behind the Emir's Palace. The Emir, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, was out of the country when the incident occurred, but one of his sons narrowly escaped the blast, according to sources. Meanwhile, Deputy Commissioner in the Kano State Police Command, Samuel Lemo, revealed 35 persons were killed in the bomb explosion at the Kano Central Mosque on Friday. Lemo also confirmed that 150 others were injured in the blast and added that gunshots were fired at people, which made the situation more chaotic as they ran for safety. Spokesman for the Joint Task Force, Ikechukwu Eze, also confirmed the blast. Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso was in Abuja to submit his presidential nomination form at the time the bomber struck near the Central Mosque in his domain. It also presented him another opportunity to berate the Jonathan administration for not doing enough to stop the 5-year-long insurgency and the spate of bombings in some parts of the country.
People are sick and tired of this administration. So many people, Mr. Chairman, over this period of time were killed. Nobody can even tell you how many people were killed, even in the last 1 week. Killings everywhere, in the market, on the roads, in the churches, in the mosques, everywhere, Mr. Chairman. People in this country believe that those who are supposed to protect them either have no capacity to stop the killing and destruction of properties, or they are enjoying it. Whichever, Mr. Chairman, is not good enough for all of us. We have the resources in this country to stop or to protect ourselves. We have seen things, Mr. Chairman, over the years. A situation in the past where Nigeria had Africa as the center of its foreign policy. In other words, Mr. Chairman, we are comfortable at home, we are in peace. We are even thinking of our brothers and sisters as far away as South Africa and other parts of this continent. Today, Mr. Chairman, we have seen that the situation has been completely reversed. not only bigger countries like South Africa and so on, even smaller countries, Mr. Chairman.
Kano State Governor there, Rabiu Kwankwaso, his Bauchi State counterpart, Isa Yuguda, says steps are being taken to fortify the state against those he described as hit-and-run bombers. Yuguda said this in an interview with State House correspondents after a closed-door meeting with Vice President Namadi Sambo at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The governor insisted that the bombings recorded in the state were carried out by insurgents from neighboring states, which are currently under emergency rule.
It has been discovered that all the bombings, the bombers come from, from the neighboring states. So it is an occurrence that had to happen, but I'm assuring you that we're taking steps now to make sure that these hit and run bombers never come into Bauchi again. We're doing our best.
Meanwhile, following successes recorded by the Nigerian military at recapturing territories taken by the insurgents, Adamawa state government has intensified efforts in reaching internally displaced persons with basic relief materials. These include those living with friends and families in Yola North, Yola South, and Gere local government areas. Adamawa State Governor Bala James Aguilari, while flagging off the distribution of the relief materials, says there are over 160,000 persons identified. He reiterated the commitment of his government to alleviate the suffering of the displaced persons.
I do sincerely hope that the exercise we start off today will go a long way to ameliorating their very, very deplorable situation. And what we are doing is to give them support in terms of food and basic things of life. And I think this will go a long way. And I will also call on all other people to be our neighbors' keepers. Nobody will want to remain a displaced person. We thank God for the tremendous successes we have registered in the last few days, by virtue of the fact that a number of territories have been.
Chairman of the Committee on Distribution of Relief Materials, Abdurrahman Boboy, says the distribution will continue until the displaced persons are safe to return to their homes.
With the commitment, determination, and goodwill, we hope to reach as much as we can. And more so, we are putting much prayers that each and every one of them to go back to his house, to reunite with his family and friends, so that life will continue as it's supposed to.
The Red Cross also is now soliciting for 480 million naira to assist people displaced by Boko Haram in the three northeastern states of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa. The emergency appeal, which was first launched by the international humanitarian body early this month, is based on a needs assessment of the affected persons, as well as logistics requirements for the operation. Secretary General of the Nigerian Red Cross Society, Bello Duram, says the target is to reach 50,000 people in each of the three affected states.
The needs are enormous, and in our bid to go beyond Maiduguri and address more comprehensively the need in the most affected states of Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent, at the request of the Nigerian Red Cross Society, launched an emergency appeal on the 5th of November 2014 to the tune of 2,777,899 CHF, that is Swiss franc, equivalent to 480 million Nigerian naira, to support the Nigerian Red Cross intervention in the Northeast. The overall objective of the emergency appeal is to assist 150,000 beneficiaries, 50,000 people in each of the three targeted states of Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe, around 12,500 people per local government area per state, with community-based emergency, health, water, sanitation, and hygiene promotion, relief, psychosocial support, and the livelihood support. It is of utmost importance to note here that the Nigerian Red Cross Society is one of the few humanitarian responding agencies on ground, but the Nigerian Red Cross stands out as the only organization that has unfettered access to almost everywhere in the Northeast.
There was commotion in Kaduna city center earlier today as a commercial tricycle exploded and caught fire at a busy intersection. The incident, which occurred at about 11:45 a.m., caused a traffic gridlock around the popular Leventis roundabout as people initially fled. Many thought it was a bomb blast, but it was soon clear that the tricycle caught fire as a result of a mechanical fault. APC wants all presidential aspirants to sign undertaking ahead of primaries. Find out more after this timeout. Don't go away.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Professor.
My former students.
Happy birthday.
Every day, life is made better by the moments of surprise we create for others and for ourselves. Be better. Surprise someone this season and make sure to text 11 to 400 to get a surprise from MTN.
MTN, everywhere you go.
You're on to CoreTV Primetime News, and if you just joined us, here is a quick reminder of some of the major headlines. Police confirm 35 deaths as bombers hit Kano Central Mosque behind Emir's Palace. Still ahead, the All Progressives Congress wants aspirants seeking the party's presidential ticket to sign undertakings during the screening exercise. And Lagos Governor Babatunde Fashola expresses disappointment at INEC over renewed distribution of permanent voter cards in the state. You can also access all of our top stories on any of our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/CoreTV News. Our Twitter handle is at CoreTV News NG. We're also streaming live on YouTube. It's trending on youtube.com/CoreTV, letter space and news. The All Progressives Congress, the APC, is to make all aspirants seeking the party's presidential ticket sign an undertaking during the screening exercise. National Chairman of the party, John Odigo-Yegun, disclosed this while receiving the duly completed presidential nomination form from Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso in Abuja. This, according to Odigo-Yegun, is to ensure that whoever emerges the candidate would commit to implementing the party's manifesto if he emerges victorious in the 2015 election. He is also convinced that Kwankwaso or any of APC presidential aspirants will do a better job of stabilizing the economy. The Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola has described the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) as the biggest threat to democracy in the country. This condemnation is coming against the background of Fashola's experience as the renewed distribution of voter cards kicked off in the state on Friday.
INEC is the biggest threat to our democracy. They set dates that they haven't met. They said this exercise will take place between the 7th and the 9th. We mobilized, we spent money. I addressed the state at least not less than twice. We held stakeholders meetings, getting people ready. We put all of those resources out there only for INEC to change the game in the middle, to say that it is no longer all the local governments. They broke it into two. We tried to understand that, okay, they will do 11 and then later come to do 9. Now the 9 are not ready. The 11 have been handled in a very, very unsatisfactory way from the comments that I have received. I have gone. So if I, the governor of the state, who was elected, cannot even vote, it says a lot about what INEC has really done here. And you see, they went to post the notice there overnight and saying that we should all just go and register. So they just cancelled my polling unit in effect.
Gavner said he will proceed to use his temporary voter card to exercise his franchise at the 2015 general elections and advised those without the permanent voter cards to do same.
I have my temporary voter's card, and I expect all those who have their temporary voter's card to keep them, because INEC registered us, and it cannot deregister us because we are still alive. We are not dead. And INEC must find a way to ensure that if it cannot produce our permanent voter's card, it must allow us to use the temporary voter's card to vote.
Meanwhile, Lagosians have expressed mixed feelings at the renewed distribution of the permanent voter cards in Lagos. Omotayo Alo monitored the PVC exercise in some areas of the state and filed in this report.
My in-law is here. I brought them here for registration. For me, I let them, I could not even get my own people. It's annoying. Someone and the man use that to just offense me now. Please don't have this thing. You can't vote.
Just like this young man, some Lagosians still harbor the fear of disenfranchisement and have doubts in the permanent voter cards distribution exercise. But the situation is not the same for the Surulere residents who expressed satisfaction in the process and are glad to have finally received their cards despite the initial delay.
It's okay, I'm going well.
It didn't take me more than 10 minutes. I was the first person to collect.
Everybody who comes to collect their own, they collect it. Even those who lost their card, they help them by filling form to collect it easily. So there's no problem.
Though the process, which involves checking for your name on the list and then meeting the INEC official to sort for the card and all the follow-up formalities, remains the same. This resident, Bukola Adeyemi, believes INEC can do better.
The only problem I envisage is that if you cannot bring your voter's card, the last voter's card, we ask you to come back in the afternoon. And there is nothing stopping them from giving us immediately. Why must we come back in the afternoon?
With the takeoff of the PVC distribution exercise for the remaining 9 local governments that were initially exempted, the success of the distribution process to Lagosians will go a long way in reducing the anxiety over the alleged role the electoral body will play in the 2015 elections.
In order to prevent a reoccurrence of the controversy that followed the distribution of the permanent voter cards in some local government areas of Lagos State, a civil rights group has urged INEC to make better policies at getting an improvement over the last exercise. Samuel Olori, who leads the group, says INEC must do better for the sake of the 2015 elections.
Of course, we have been part of the monitoring group since the beginnings of this exercise in the 11 local government. And for that purpose, our observations has been the reason why we have to have this kind of roundtable talk. You know, we discovered that if we did not come in on time, these things went comatose. And at the end of the day, Nigerians are used to making noise without actions. So we want to nip it in the bud before it becomes, a noise-making issue. So that's why we decided to say, okay, INEC, you can't do it alone. Let's partner together, let's synergize, and let's see how we can go to help you.
My fear is that people are not being attended to the way they should. One will expect that by now, INEC will have put its house in order and ensure that everybody has access to it without any stress. But be it as it may, I guess that's why we are here today, to ensure that INEC gets it right.
The Electoral Commissioner for Lagos State, Kunle Ogumola, in his response expresses optimism that the process will be better with the Commission's new attempt at addressing the challenges that arose from the last exercise.
We've also ensured that in those polling units,
that at least 2 of our men will be there, so as to ensure that the process is very fast. I think by the grace of God, not only me assessing, but even stakeholders, political parties, they were here yesterday, the representatives, and they've said we scored above average. Because we started poorly, but we were able to stabilize later. And from what they observed on the field, they've given us a pass mark.
This is Lagos, and you're watching CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take another break and return with business, sports, and stories outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Professor.
My former students.
Happy birthday.
Every day, life is made better by the moments of surprise we create for others and for ourselves. Be better. Surprise someone this season and make sure to text 11 to 400 to get a surprise from MTN.
MTN, everywhere you go.
Welcome back, and on business news, the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Daisy Alison Maduke, has been elected as the first female president of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. Minister of Petroleum Alison Maduke was elected president of OPEC at the ongoing 166th General Meeting of the body in Vienna, Austria. She replaces former president of OPEC, Libyan Vice Prime Minister for Corporations, Abdurrahman Attar al-Rashid. She has since assumed duty to serve as president for a one-year term at the helm of OPEC affairs. OPEC is expected to, at the 160th meeting, to take key decisions that could halt the dwindling price of crude oil. However, al-Rashid, before the closed-door meeting, stated that ample supply, moderate demand, a stronger U.S. dollar, and uncertainties about global economic growth have been key factors in the recent price trend. Meanwhile, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, has now decided to maintain its oil output despite a global supply glut that has sent crude oil prices crashing. After a lengthy meeting, the decision of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries had taken no changes. The 12-nation oil cartel has opted to leave its daily oil output target at 30 million barrels, even after crude prices have plunged by more than a third in value since June. However, London's Brent North Sea crude for January delivery dived to $74.36 per barrel, while New York's West Texas Intermediate for January was $70.87. First Bank of Nigeria Holdings has notified the Nigerian Stock Exchange of the appointment of Dr. Hamza Sule Wuroboki as an independent non-executive director on its board. This appointment brings the total number of directors on the board of the company to 7, approved by the Central Bank of Nigeria on 11th November 2014. Dr. Hamza started his professional career as a supervisory counselor for education with Gombe local government. That was between 1991 and 1993. He went ahead to become the managing director, Jewel Investment Services Limited, head of marketing, Apt Securities and Funds Limited. He was also a former commissioner, Minister of Trade and Investment, Gombe State. He was the director of the MPF Pensions Limited prior to his appointment. The Nigerian Stock Exchange today suspended further trading in Oando rights until further notice. This action was necessitated by information received on November 27th from Vetiva Securities Limited, the lead stockbroker to the issue, that Wando PLC has not obtained a formal clearance of the offer documents and registrations of the shares from the Securities and Exchange Commission. Therefore, further trading rights of Wando is suspended. Now, let's join Sabana Zoku for today's stock market report.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report is brought to you by MTN. MTN, everywhere you go.
Hello there, welcome to the Stock Market Report with me, Sabena Izuku. Equity transaction on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The All Shares Index depreciated by 0.47% to close at 34,543.05 basis points. Market capitalization decreased to close at 11.40 trillion naira. In all, a total of 338.8 million units of shares, valued at 6.38 billion naira, were exchanged in 4,283 deals. 40 oil top the gainers chart to close at 214 naira 18 kobo with a difference of 7 naira 82 kobo, followed by Supplet Oil, Cadbury, United Africa Company of Nigeria and Unilever. On the losers side, Nestle topped the losers chart, followed by Wando, WAPCO, Econ Transnational Incorporation and First Bank of Nigeria Holdings. For the top traders, United Bank for Africa topped the traders chart, followed by First Bank of Nigeria Holdings, Zenith Bank, WAPCO, and Axis Bank. To wrap up the stock market report, here are the currency exchange rate for today.
CoreTV News Stock Market Report is brought to you by MTN. MTN, everywhere you go.
Thank you, Sabina. We'll take another break now, and I'll be back with Sports Diaries. Stick around.
Der Torschütze zum zwischenzeitlichen 1:1. Semenike schickt Musa, da ist Ahmed Musa! Und da ist der Ausgleich!
It's a beautiful Saturday evening in the city of Lagos.
Off the turn, Phelps had it, but then Matsui kept going.
Finals. 5 to shoot. Leonard does.
And of course, thank you for all of us here from all our production crew. Thanks for all your pleasure.
Now, the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, has reaffirmed that Stephen Keshi will be tasked with the responsibility of rebuilding the Super Eagles for future challenges, despite failing to qualify the team for next year's Africa Cup of Nations in Equatorial Guinea. The Super Eagles will not have any competitive games until late 2015 and early 2016, when qualifiers for the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations and 2018 World Cup respectively begins. And the NFF have hinted that Keshi will be the man to oversee the Eagles for the period. President of the NFF, Amaju Pinnick, said Keshi is still the head coach, adding that he has won everything and is still going to work, affirming that the former Nigeria captain will continue in his position as Super Eagles coach. Reactions, however, continue to trail the Super Eagles' failure to qualify to the 2015 African Cup of Nations in Equatorial Guinea. Nigeria needed to beat Bafana Bafana of South Africa to clinch the second ticket from Group A, but was held to a 2-2 draw, which saw Congo grabbing their second ticket from the group behind South Africa. Speaking exclusively to CoreTV News Sports, Warri Wolves and Super Eagles striker Bolahon Salami and Dosu Joseph exonerate Eagles gaffers Stephen Keshi for Eagles' failure, but has instead blamed the players for their poor show-off. We'll bring you details of that subsequently. Well, outside Nigerian sports, Xavi and Mesut Ozil are the surprise inclusions on a Real Madrid and Juventus dominated 15-man midfield shortlist for the FIFA PRO World 6. The pair have endured an inconsistent last 12 months for club and country, but still received plenty of nominations from their fellow professionals. Arturo Vidal, Andrea Pirlo, and Paul Pogba represent the Juventus contingent, while Toni Kroos, James Rodriguez, and Luka Modric are the Madrid players on the list. Bayern Munich, Xabi Alonso, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Barcelona Xavi, Andres Iniesta, and Chelsea Fabregas, Eden Hazard all have 2 representatives, while Manchester United, Angel Di Maria, Manchester City, Yaya Toure, and Arsenal's Ozil all have 1 candidate. The FIFA World 6 is decided by the players and involves votes from tens of thousands of footballers worldwide. Formula One buses have agreed to ditch the controversial double points rule. It was introduced for the final race of 2014 to keep the championship alive for as long as possible, but was criticized by drivers, teams, and fans. The agreement needs ratifying at a meeting of the FIA World Motorsport Council, but Formula One's legislative body is expected to rubber stamp it. The idea of Formula One boss Bernie Ecclestone, the double points rule, was criticized for being unfair and artificial. As it turned out, the outcome of the 2014 championship would have rested on the final race, even if double points had not been enforced. To other stories now, British Prime Minister David Cameron has passionately urged all the European Union leaders to support his reasonable proposals for far-reaching curbs on welfare benefits for migrants. He says lower EU migration would be a priority in future negotiations over the UK's membership, and he would rule nothing out if he did not get the changes he wanted. Under his plans, migrants will have to wait 4 years for certain benefits. In a long-awaited speech given in the factory in the West Midlands, Cameron said he was confident he would change the basis of EU migration into the UK and therefore campaign for the UK to stay in the EU in a future referendum planned for 2017. But he warned that if the UK's demands fell on deaf ears, he would rule nothing out. The strongest hints to date, he could countenance the UK leaving the EU. Cameron ruled out a temporary cap on migrant numbers or an emergency break on EU freedom of movement rules, ideas both mooted in recent months, saying this would be less effective than reducing the incentives for people to come to the UK. He said there was no doubt his proposals would require changes to the treaties governing the European Union, necessitating the support of all EU members. He began his speech by saying migration had benefited the UK and that he was proud of the multiracial nature of modern Britain. And now to end CoreTV's primetime news, a recap of some of our headline stars. We told you that police has confirmed 35 deaths as bombers hit Kano Central Mosque behind Emir's Palace. We also reported that the All Progressives Congress now wants aspirants seeking the party's presidential ticket to sign undertaking during the screening exercise. Lagos Governor Babatunde Fashola has expressed disappointment at INEC over renewed distribution of permanent voter cards in the state. Outside Nigeria, British Prime Minister David Cameron has sought support of European Union leaders for migrants' welfare benefits. It's a wrap tonight on CoreTV Primetime News. On behalf of the production crew, I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Thanks for watching.